War is brutal, devastating, and unforgiving for everyone involved. It is a time of chaos where any awful thing can happen. The rules of war are the international laws that attempt to control this chaos, and although countries claim to follow them, there are those that neglect them, and the United States is one of the countries guiltiest of abandoning these rules. This begs the simple question, why are they able to get away with this? From its inception, the U.S. has not always been the beacon of morality and justice that many perceive it as. Whether it be the genocide of natives as the country expanded west, the rape and murder of hundreds of innocents at the My Lai massacre, or the torture of inmates at Guantanamo Bay, America has many stains on its military history. They justify these events by claiming that their position in any military conflict is the moral one, and that means whatever they do obviously means it was for a good reason. Their main tool in convincing the world that they are moral is the law. The law is America's most prestigious institution as it is seemingly incorruptible. This means that if the law says that America's actions in times of war are illegal, people around the world believe that those actions are morally justified. But how does this explain why America can violate the international laws that govern war? Well, that answer can be found by looking at how those laws came to be. After the conflicts of World War II ended, the Allied powers had to decide how to punish German war criminals that broke multiple different countries' laws. The Nuremberg trials were set up to handle this matter as they used a combination of the Allied powers' legal systems to try to bring back morality to a war-torn world through the use of the law. These trials were heavily dominated by an American sense of justice, which meant that the precedents these trials would set for the use of international law would be heavily tied to the American legal system. With America's system so integral to the creation of international law, it makes the U.S. perceive international law as inferior to their own, so they do not adhere to it. Furthering the problem of America's lack of adherence to international law, the international organizations that create laws that regulate war are severely disjointed. There are over 1.5 million non-governmental organizations, or NGOs, making it hard to see what rules are to be followed or to see who exactly has jurisdiction over any legal matter. Now that we have identified what led to America being able to violate international law in times of war, it is important to look at an example of those violations. During the War on Terror, the United States passed the Detainee Treatment Act, which provided the government all it needed to torture captured combatants, which is an act explicitly prohibited by articles of the Geneva Conventions. American law is seen as the most moral institution in this country, and now that it allowed this treatment of enemy combatants, there is no international law that could hold the U.S. accountable. The U.S.'s violation of international law in times of war still occurs today. Drone strikes and more kill innocent civilians almost every day in the Middle East, and that has not changed during the Biden administration's time in office. It is time that the NGOs of the world reorganize and make it so they can hold America accountable to follow international law so these violations can finally end. Not only should these non-governmental organizations better organize, but the American people also need to speak out against these violations and make it clear to those in power that America must follow the rules of war and be the moral nation that it claims to be.